Well, welcome. It has been a minute. I have been staying to my practice of being in the lab for right now, and I promise you it will all be worth it. But I'm excited to be back. I've missed this microphone. I've got the camera up. I missed the camera. I miss being in this seat behind the microphone, talking with all of you. But I'll still be in the lab for a little bit longer. Some work to share, and I'll give you a little bit of a insight of what's to be coming, especially with the podcast at the very end of this episode. But I wanted to do a special episode today to tell you about something that I've been working on that I am very, very excited about. If you've been following me on social media, maybe you've seen and heard about it, but if not, I'm going to be doing a series of talks, 5 talks to be exact, this fall called the Keep Pursuing series. I'm really excited about it, and what I want to do today is real quick give you a little bit more about what this series is. So tell you what it is, what it's not, give you all the details of when are the talks, what are the subjects, where is it located, what time is it going down, and also give you the backstory of how I came to it because I think it's a pretty cool story. And ultimately share with you what I hope comes from the series at the very end. So with that, I want to get in and a little bit of an advertisement, but also some behind the scenes of what I've been working on while I've been in the lab. So I mentioned the Keep Pursuing series. 5 talks, 5 separate Wednesdays. I'll give you the dates here in a moment. But before I get to what the series is going to be about, I want to give you what the series is not going to be. First and foremost, this series is not me, the financial advisor, giving a presentation in a form of a seminar trying to get new clients. That's not what this is. There will be a little bit of talk about money and planning in one of the sessions that you'll hear, but this is not me, the advisor. This is me, the individual who wants to be a public speaker, who is a public speaker, creating his own opportunities to go out and speak to people who want to hear what I have to say. So this is not an opportunity to, get people to come be clients of RLS Wealth. This is not trying to get people to subscribe to anything else other than if they find the subject matter interesting, the daily notes. Tune into the podcast, tune into the daily notes, and allow me as I go on this journey myself to help you as you go on your journey. So I wanted to get that out of the way real quick, is that this is not something from RLS Wealth. This is a Pursuit production. As you will see on the graphics I've created, I have posters around town, Instagram images, it's on Twitter, it's on LinkedIn. This has nothing to do with RLS Wealth. And I think that's important because a lot of times financial advisors do these boring seminars. They bother you afterwards to try to get you to become a client. That is not what this is. This is me trying to jumpstart my public speaking career further than it already is and get it moving. So that's what it's not. So let's get to what the series is. It's a series designed to help you begin to look more closely at the life that you're currently living and experiencing and compare that to the life that maybe you feel like you're supposed to be living. I look at where I was a few years ago and doing all of the things and trying to figure out, what's my lane. And, my wife, Ange, would say, why do you keep on trying these new ideas when, you have it good? Your business is good. You have great clients. We have more than enough money. Why do you keep on trying new things? And my response to her just was, I don't know. I have to. I feel like I have to. I want to. I'm excited about it. I just have to do it. And what I finally learned was that having to do it and that experimentation, that trying, was me battling internal discontent with where I was. Meaning I didn't have everything internally aligned, and that this trying and experimenting was designed to help me find my way. And some people are further in their journey than others. So what I wanted this series to be able to do was to meet you wherever you are in your journey to finding and living what I like to call your authentic life. And that'll be one of the subject matters of the talks. We'll get deeper into what the authentic life is, but this is designed to meet you wherever you are. Everybody will be able to find meaning behind these talks to help them pursue that authentic life and move away from the life that maybe isn't the life that they feel like they're supposed to be living. And the first session kind of addresses this. So I'm excited to do this because this is what I think about, read about, write about all the time. And I'm just going to do it in a spoken form. That's a little bit about like what to expect. 5 talks, 5 Wednesdays. I'll give you the dates in a minute. Subject matter ranging all along the board of getting you to evaluating where you're currently at, identifying maybe where you think you're supposed to be. How do you get there? How do you maintain it? How do you control your mind? All of these things that will be very important if you go, and you'll see the titles that'll make a lot more sense. But before we get to the subject the titles of every talk, I want to give you the backstory because I think the backstory is fun. And I think it's kind of cool. So as I was preparing for Russ's album Santiago to come out, which is based off of The Alchemist, I went back through his catalog and I was listening to more of his music and watching interviews and just thinking more about his journey. So if you don't know, Russ is an independent hip hop artist. He's been doing it since he's a teenager, has always been independent, which means he owns everything that he's created. A lot of risk there, but he owns it all. Him and his buddy Booga started when they were in high school, maybe even a little bit before that. And they've grown to be able to have world tours that they've set up themselves, selling out world tours and progressing, doing it all on their own. Russ was creating the beats and writing his lyrics and recording it and engineering and doing all of the work himself, which is something that I kind of like to do. I like to do a lot of things myself. But nonetheless, he was able to do it all on his terms and through a strong belief in himself, rise up in the ranks of hip hop. And ultimately now there's a picture of him sitting down with the Santiago album with Dr. Dre and Dr. Dre in his studio. And if you know rap, Dr. Dre is the top producer. Everybody would want to get to meet with him and sit down with him. And here Russ is, the independent guy who built his own way up, sitting down with him, playing his album for Dr. Dre. And now he has collabs with other major hip hop artists, and he's still kind of under the radar, but his notoriety is growing. And again, he did it all on his own, doing it his way. And as I thought about that, I was like, why can't I do something like that with some of the pursuits that I want to, go after? Mainly the public speaking side of things. So that gave me kind of some confidence and this idea of like, all right, I'm gonna do like Russ. Like, I'm not gonna wait around. I'm not gonna hire a PR company to try to help me get on the media or get in speaking opportunities. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I don't want to ask. At least not yet. Let me build up some more of my resume and then leverage that in the future. But hopefully I won't need it. Hopefully this series goes really well, and the other things that I do to where that alone acts as my own PR company. So the challenge is, can I do this on my own with, the support of friends and family, and not totally on my own, but again, not engaging with PR companies to help me. What I've learned is a lot of these people we look up to that make it seem like they did it on their own, when you find out in the background, there's tricks to be played. There's connections that are had. And again, not that there's anything wrong with that, but can I do this kind of on my terms like an independent hip hop artist would be, since I just love that world. And then as I was thinking about all of that, an image flashed before my mind. This image is burned in my mind. It's a picture of J. Cole at the Rolling Loud concert a few years ago. And the picture is from behind him. So you see J. Cole's back. He's looking out at the crowd, and it's raining. And you just see that the crowd is packed, sold out. Phones are up, lights are on. The flashlights of the phones are flashing. And J. Cole is just looking out over this massive crowd. And everybody there is singing the words to his songs. Everybody there is there because they want to see him perform. And he is making an incredible experience that they will probably remember for the rest of their life, just because of who he is and what he has created. And I just always tell my wife, just one time in my life, I want to stand on stage and look out at a sold out crowd. Number doesn't matter. Sold out crowd. And know that people are there because they want to be. It's one thing to be on a panel. It's one thing to be a keynote speaker, which I want to do in the future. But the people are at those conferences because, they kind of have to be, or they're at your keynote presentation because it's one of the options there. But when someone buys a ticket explicitly for your talk, that's a different thing. It's a different energy and a different experience for both sides. And I want to experience that one day. And J. Cole didn't end up on the stage of Rolling Loud with the sold out crowd in the rain by sitting around and waiting for it to happen. You put these things out and we talk about manifestation. He put the idea out there, but then he went and put in the work. Started out making mixtapes, hustling doing that, hopping on other songs, just doing what he needed to do, making his beats. Very, very similar to what Russ did. And then he gets on a label, and, the rest is history. So J. Cole didn't wait around, so I'm not going to wait around. And can I do this like they did getting themselves started? So that is kind of the backstory. And once I had that idea, I set it into motion. Like, I created graphics on Canva that night. Keep pursuing series, date to be determined, location to be determined, but this thing's happening. And then I thought, okay, well, I have a venue in mind. And the venue I'll give you now, it's Geist Coffee. So it's in Fishers, Indiana. And if you followed me for years, you know Geist Coffee as the coffee shop I take the boys to every Friday. And if you're local, you see me there all the time in the summer and the spring, sitting outside getting some work done. To me, that was the perfect venue to do this first talk. It's a very special place to me and my family. It's close. I know the owners, and I thought they might say yes. So I had the venue in my mind, but I thought, before I bring this idea to them, because I don't know them to have guest speakers rent out their facility after hours, let me put together the talks so I can show them that this is something that is serious and I'm not, just messing around with. So then I thought, all right, how many talks do I want to do and what's the frequency? And, I didn't want to just do one. I wanted to make it a series, but how many is too many? And so ultimately I decided on 5 talks, random number, no significance to it, but I felt 5 talks would give me the opportunity to go take everybody on a journey. And the goal for these talks, and I think this is a challenge I'm excited to see if I can pull this off, is that each talk will be independent of its own, meaning that it will stand as its own talk. There will be no cliffhanger. It won't be, all right, thanks for coming this week. Next week we'll pick back up and we'll continue the story. Each talk will be its own talk, own story, beginning and end. If you can only come to 2 of the talks, 1 of the talks, 4 of the talks, you will leave each talk with some thoughts and some ideas and some confidence to begin to evaluate your life. And if you have any questions about, are you where you're supposed to be, you'll have the encouragement to get going and really evaluate that more closely so you can move closer to that life that you feel like you're supposed to lead. But, and this is where it gets tricky, all 5 stories when combined tell a bigger story. So you have one big story spread out over 5 weeks, but it is 5 smaller stories that compound up to make it. I think I can do it. And what I have frameworked out, it does, but we'll see if the execution is there and we'll see if the audience receives it that way. But I think that'll be really cool. Nonetheless, there'll be 5 talks that you will get something from each individual talk. It's, can I make these 5 talks tell one big story at the end of the day? And that's the challenge of it all. I know each talk will be good. So let's talk about the talks. Actually, let me do the dates first. So the first talk is here in a couple weeks, actually 2 weeks, October 25th. The second one is November 8th. The third is November 15th. The fourth is November 29th. And the 5th, is December 6th. All of these are going to take place at Geist Coffee. They're all on Wednesdays, and they'll all start at 7 o'clock. And each talk is going to be restricted to 25 attendees. So I have an Eventbrite. I'll make sure you can get to it if you're interested. Set up. There's 25 tickets, and I believe the first talk we're already over halfway sold. So I'm pretty excited about that. And what's really exciting, if I'm being fully transparent with all of you, to see names on that list that I don't know who they are. It's really cool to see friends and clients and family members that want to come support. And I definitely want them there. But to see somebody who came across the poster, the blog post, whatever it might be, that felt called to come to the talk and register, that's what's telling me that this series has legs and I just need to get it done. Need to experience it one time, learn from it, and then keep on doing it because there's a need for it. And I'm already seeing it before I've done it with people I don't know registering to come. So I'm excited to see everybody that I know, whether you are a close friend, an acquaintance, someone at my yoga studio, I'm excited to see you there. But I also am really excited and encouraged to see there are people I don't know who they are that have bought tickets. So again, we'll get the dates real quick again. October 25th, November 8th, November 15th, November 29th, and December 6th. Let me give you the titles of each. So if we go back to the beginning, the 25th is going to be titled, Are You Living Someone Else's Life? And I don't want to give you too much of the talk. So, are you living someone else's life that's been designed for you, or are you living the life that you designed for yourself? And what does that mean? How can you tell? And what do you do? The second talk is Finding Your Authentic Life. Authentic life is a term that I really want to own one day. I think that for me, I know what it means, but what I realize is that to the outside world, that's still kind of a term of, well, what does that mean? And I really want to own that. The authentic life is actually going to be introduced in the first talk, but we're going to spend more time about how you find your authentic life. And to me, the authentic life is the one life that you were created to live that allows you to use your gifts and talents that you have that no one else has to bring to the world and make the world a better place, but also be doing the things that you enjoy the most to help everybody else out. Like, to me, that's the authentic life. There is one path that you are best fit to walk. And are you walking that life? And if not, can you find it? And can you evolve with it is where the series is going to end up going. So the third talk is designing a plan to pursue your authentic life. Now, I mentioned there will be a little bit of money talk, nothing big, no advice, nothing major. But how do we plan to pursue the authentic life once we've found it? So this goes beyond just money. There's lots of things that may have to be planned for if you are going to commit to the life that you feel called to live versus the life that you're currently living. And, there's a big spectrum of the changes and like the difference between where am I today and where am I supposed to be for everybody. Some people have a big leap to make. Some have, a little one, and some have none, which is okay. But again, these talks will relate to you wherever you are on your journey. The fourth talk, regaining control of your mind. Now, the mind is a very powerful thing. I believe our thoughts create our world. They bring things to us, the law of attraction, all of these things that come back to our mindset. And, our perception becomes our reality. So how can we control our mind? How can we take back control of our mind? Because my experience has been a lot of people living the life created for them by someone else don't have the confidence, don't have the belief in themselves to be able to go take control of their life and pursue their authentic life. So how do we take back control of our mind? How do we do that to be able to go after this life that we feel called to live? And then the final one is going to be evolving with your authentic life. All right, so you found it. I do not believe the authentic life, once you find it, is an end zone. I don't believe it's the end of your pursuit. That's why I love the word pursuit. I don't think a pursuit ever ends. It keeps on going. You keep on moving forward, and you're going to evolve, and your authentic life is going to evolve. How do you continue to evolve with it so that you don't get left behind and have to realign and continue to chase that authentic life rather than continuing to evolve with it as it evolves? So those are the talks. Are you living someone else's life? Finding your authentic life. Designing a plan to pursue your authentic life. Regaining control of your mind and evolving with your authentic life. And I'm guessing as time goes on, I might refine those titles. But I want this series to happen. And if I wait until I get all of the copy perfect, then this thing may never happen. So that leads me to one of the things that I hope comes out of this. Well, there's a few things I hope come out of this. One, I hope people who come are motivated and inspired and encouraged to evaluate where they are and compare that to where they feel they should be. And then give them some resources on how to get there. So I hope that people leave each talk feeling like they have more clarity about the life that they're supposed to be living and how they might walk in that path rather than the path that they're on, or confirmation of the path that they're on is the one they're meant to be on and then everything is good. It's not always going to be everybody's changing. Again, these talks will meet you where you're at. There are specific enough yet wide enough to apply to everybody. The other thing I hope this series ends up doing is I hope it ends up being a use case. I hope it ends up being inspiration, an example of how you can make things happen in your life. Again, I stated at the beginning of this year, I wanted to be a paid public speaker. And technically, I am a paid public speaker. I have done public speaking. I have been paid for my services, but I want to do it at a bigger scale. I feel that this message that I have come across and that my life's work going forward is very important to the people who need to hear it. And I need to make sure that I am out giving this message. But if I just sit around and wait for conferences to ask me to come talk, all of the writing, all of the podcasting is probably going to make it take a long time. So I'm going to do my part to help speed that up. And like I said, hopefully in the long run, bypass the PR companies, bypass the conferences. Maybe I get to the point where these series are so good that I'm just selling my own tickets and people are coming on their own. Brene Brown has set the blueprint for that. I watched her Netflix special last night, motivating me to get excited for today's episode. She, as everybody knows, is a very famous author, but she has a Netflix special for one of her talks. Netflix special. Not a keynote, not a TED Talk. Her own special put on by Netflix where people sold out a theater to come listen to her talk. It can be done. And the Keep Pursuing series is going to be the beginning of my move towards doing that myself. Whether it's Netflix or not, I don't care. But there will be a day that I get to stand on stage and look out and see a sold out auditorium, theater, whatever it might be. The size doesn't matter to me. A sold out venue of people who are there to see me talk and hear what I have to say. And it all starts with just moving it forward. So I want you to be able to see that, hey, I want to do this thing. People are going to tell me it can't be done. Their limitations have kept them from pursuing their authentic life, and they're going to put that on me. Whether they don't want to see me succeed or they're afraid to see me fail, other people are going to put their limitations on me, but I don't have to listen to them. I have the belief in myself. I have found my way. I found my authentic life. I know what I'm supposed to be doing, and whatever it might be that I want to go do is a part of that plan, and I'm going to go do it. And I'm going to go take small steps, and I'm going to go put myself out there. I'm going to go look to serve others, and good things will come from that. So this will hopefully be an example we can look back on as one to say, hey, I'm not just telling you this stuff works. Look at the proof. I did it right in front of you. You saw me. You listened to the podcast episode. You saw me reach out to Geist Coffee and speak to 25 people, and what came from that afterwards. So this is just an example of you can do anything that you want to do. Don't let other people tell you that you can't. And don't worry about how the first few times go. Just get it done. Get it started. Start that momentum. And more importantly, have the vision in your mind. I can see myself, as I close my eyes right now, I can see myself on stage looking out at that crowd. It will be here, and it will be here before we know it. And this is the first step. I can't go from not doing a lot of speaking to that stage. And I don't want to wait around. So, all right, I think I beat that message in, and hopefully that makes sense. But that's what I hope it is for you, is that this is an example and an encouragement that if I can go put on a talk, you can go do whatever it is that you say you want to do, but you just don't have the confidence to go do it. And hopefully documenting this and sharing the process will help you get that confidence for yourself to step forward. So all the details, the 25th of October, November 18th, 15th, and 29th, December 6th at Geist Coffee, which is located in Fishers on 10110 Brook School Road, 7 o'clock every night. So each Wednesday, 7 p.m. at Geist Coffee. We're going to kick it off. Talks will be 30 to 45 minutes, some time to mix and mingle afterwards. We'll have a little bit of refreshments, some coffee, some water, maybe some tea, but keeping it super simple, because the reason and the purpose for being there is not to have Geist Coffee working hard after hours. It's to have a place that we can all get together, have a good conversation, interact a little bit together, and hopefully all of us move one step closer or one step further on living our authentic life. So that's the Keep Pursuing series. I'm really excited about it. Before I let you go, I also just want to let you know that the podcast is coming back. So I mentioned being in the lab and staying true to that, just really doing my daily notes and some extra content from time to time. While I've been in the lab, I've been doing a lot of work fine-tuning the messaging, fine-tuning who I think my message will resonate with first before it reaches out to more people. And the podcast is going to go through a rebrand. I'm going to have a new name. It's going to be called Life Design Plus with Justin Castelli. Going to have a subtitle I haven't finalized yet, but On Our Pursuit, as much as I love that name, doesn't mean much to people who don't know me. And since I am just getting started, despite doing this for 7 years, but just getting started on my pursuit of this bigger message, titles matter. And if somebody scrolls across and they see On Our Pursuit and it's PRST, they don't even know what that means. They don't even know that's pursuit, and they just go by. Like, there's no idea what that is. But if they see Life Design and a subtitle of something along the lines, creating the life you want to live, or something to that, that'll make sense. That'll resonate, and that might get somebody new to click on the show. So they will go through a rebrand, but the subject matter won't change. I like the title of Life Design Plus for a couple reasons. One, it's broad enough to allow me to have multiple types of guests. So I envision having guests that have designed their life, and how did they do that? What was life before? What was the epiphany? And what's it been like afterwards? And talking through how did they do that? What does it look like? Having subject matter experts come on. So there's plenty of topics that tie into the connection of spirit, mind, body, and money as you pursue your authentic life. Could have somebody come on and talk about neuroplasticity and how we can rewire our brain, how that is actually possible. I'm not qualified to talk about it. I've read books. I believe in it. I've done it myself. But to have somebody who's an expert come on and explain it, I think that's very powerful. I think I want to have one of my yoga instructors come on and talk about the importance of yoga and the benefits of it and how that ties in. So having guests that are more subject matter, where it's not about hearing their story, it's more about learning about something that ties into our pursuits of our authentic life. There'll be opportunities to do some small episodes that maybe just feel like need to be a solo episode. And then one thing that I'm going to also do is a monthly book review, if we call it that. There's a podcast called The Founders that I really enjoy. The podcast host only reads books on founders, and he does a great episode breaking down the books. A friend of mine, shout out to Ashby, said, hey, why don't you do something similar? You keep on sending me all these woo-woo books. Why don't you do a podcast episode breaking down the book so I don't have to read it, but I can get the message and then have the opportunity to pull that into your overall message. So I love that idea. I'm reading a lot of books. I have tons of notes. Why not share that in the form of a podcast? So the podcast is going to be my thing going forward. That's the one area I'm going to focus on the most. That'll end up being on YouTube as well. And then naturally I'll have my video team cut up clips, but you're going to see and hear a lot from me as I come out of this time in the lab. And I'm really excited. And as you can see, I'm drawing this podcast episode out just because I don't want to stop. I love doing it, but it's been worth it. And I have much more clarity over who I am, how I help, what's the problem, and how do I get more people to pursue their authentic life and find that life? How do I help more people battle that feeling of discontentment that comes from a misalignment of their internals that is you only realize by self-actualization? So how do I do that? So now I can build up from the ground. I've got those things. How do I create content to help do that? Meanwhile, still helping out all my clients at Arliss Wealth. So I'm excited about the future. I hope you are as well. I want to thank you for staying with me on this episode and giving me the opportunity to be behind the mic. It shouldn't be too much longer. I'm itching to get back there. I think I'm close, but need to do a few more things as far as messaging and also rebranding the podcast and some other rebranding that's going to be going on. So with that, I want to thank you for tuning in. And if you're interested in coming to the show, you can find tickets and everything at justincastelli.io/keep-pursuing-series. One thing I've already learned is I need to change the web domain. That's the dashes make it hard, but it's justincastelli.io/keep-pursuing-series. And that was where you can get your tickets to the Eventbrite page. There's also a blog post on All About Your Benjamins. If you go there as well, it's easy to find. So one of the things I've learned already is make it easier for people to find the tickets. And honestly, I probably should have told you all that way before, because if you didn't make it to the end of the episode, you didn't get the website. So we'll see if that carrot being dangled out there about where to get the tickets keeps people to listen longer. All right, that's it. Thanks for tuning in. I'm excited to see some of you at the series. If you have any questions, hit me up. Find me on Twitter. jc@justincastelli.io is my email, and would love to answer those questions. And again, I hope to see you there. So thanks for joining me on my pursuit. It is an honor to be a part of yours. And as always, let's keep pursuing.